Hello, dear listeners. Before we begin today's story, tell me in the comments, where are you listening from? What's your city, your country? I read every message with care, and I truly love seeing how far our stories are reaching. It's amazing to watch this beautiful community grow all around the world. Now then, let's begin today's story. The words came out quieter than Natalie had practiced. I want a divorce. Sebastian's fork stopped halfway to his mouth. The restaurant hummed around them, a Tuesday evening crowd of couples and business dinners, the kind of upscale place where people kept their voices low and their problems private. Natalie had chosen it specifically for that reason. Safety in numbers, witnesses to keep him calm. She'd been so naive. What did you just say? Sebastian's voice was soft, dangerous, the tone he used right before he tore into someone at the office. His dark eyes fixed on her with the kind of intensity that used to make her feel special. Now it just made her feel small. Natalie's hands trembled in her lap. She'd rehearsed this moment 100 times with her sister Anne, had practiced keeping her voice steady, her spine straight, her resolve firm. But sitting across from Sebastian, watching his expression shift from shock to something darker, all those rehearsals felt useless. I said I want a divorce. The words were stronger this time. I can't do this anymore, Sebastian. I can't keep living like this. Living like what? He set down his fork with careful precision, the kind of control that meant he was barely holding himself together. Living in a nice apartment, wearing nice clothes, working at my agency instead of serving drinks to drunks in some dive bar. Heat climbed Natalie's neck. That's not what I meant. Because let me remind you, sweetheart. He leaned forward, his voice dropping even lower. You were nothing when I found you. A 19-year-old waitress with dreams too big for your tiny reality. I gave you everything. I paid for your degree. I gave you a career. I made you into someone. You didn't make me into someone. You controlled me. Natalie's voice shook, but she forced herself to meet his eyes. You isolated me from my friends. You made every decision. You treat me like I'm an employee at work, not your wife. Because you are an employee, and a pretty mediocre one at that. Sebastian's lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. You think you can make it without me? You think anyone else will hire you with your limited skills and non-existent connections? Each word landed like a slap. Natalie felt tears burning behind her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. Not here. Not in front of him. I'll manage, she whispered. You'll fail. Sebastian's hand shot across the table, gripping her wrist hard enough to hurt. And when you come crawling back, begging me to take you in, I won't be so generous. Natalie tried to pull away, but his grip tightened. Pain shot up her arm. Sebastian, you're hurting me. Good. Maybe then you'll remember who you belong to. Let go of her. The voice came from beside their table, deep and cold as winter. Natalie's head snapped up to find a man standing there, tall and broad-shouldered, in an expensive charcoal suit. His light green eyes were fixed on Sebastian with an intensity that made the air feel dangerous. Sebastian didn't let go. This is a private conversation. Move along. I said... The stranger's hand moved so fast, Natalie barely saw it. One moment, Sebastian was gripping her wrist. The next, he was releasing her with a yelp, his face going pale. Let go of her! The man's accent was subtle, British edges softened by American years. His face was striking in a dangerous way, all sharp angles and controlled power. A slight crook in his nose suggested it had been broken once. Dark hair fell across his forehead in waves that looked effortlessly styled. A silver chain glinted at his throat where his shirt was unbuttoned. He looked like violence wrapped in expensive fabric. Who the hell do you think you are? Sebastian stood, trying to reclaim some dignity despite being several inches shorter than the stranger. You can't just... Andrew Fairchild. The name was delivered like a weapon. And I can do whatever I want in this city, including telling you that if you touch your wife again, you'll spend the rest of your miserable life regretting it. The color drained from Sebastian's face. Even Natalie recognized that name. Everyone in Stratford knew the Fairchilds. Old money, old power, the kind of family that had shaped the city from its foundation. Andrew Fairchild wasn't just wealthy. He was untouchable. Mr. Fairchild, I apologize. Sebastian's entire demeanor shifted, his voice taking on a sickening obsequiousness. This is just a misunderstanding between husband and wife. There's no misunderstanding. Andrew's voice could have cut glass. You threatened her. You hurt her. And now you're going to leave this restaurant, go home, and stay the hell away from her. Do you understand? Sebastian's jaw worked. His eyes flickered between Andrew and Natalie, calculating, trying to find an angle. She's my wife. I have rights. You have nothing. Andrew took a step closer and Sebastian actually backed up. If I hear you've contacted her, if I hear you've so much as looked at her, I will destroy everything you've built. Your agency will lose every client. Your apartment lease will mysteriously terminate. Your bank accounts will freeze. Your reputation will become so toxic that no one in this city will even speak your name. The restaurant had gone quiet. Everyone was watching now, this scene playing out like theater. Natalie felt her face burning, but she couldn't look away from Andrew's face, from the cold fury there that wasn't directed at her. Someone was defending her, really defending her. The realization made her chest tight. This isn't over, Sebastian said, but his voice lacked conviction. Natalie, when you come to your senses, she won't. Andrew's hand came to rest on the back of Natalie's chair, a protective gesture that made her heart skip. Now leave, before I change my mind about letting you walk out of here on your own feet. Sebastian grabbed his jacket, threw some bills on the table and left. He didn't look back. The restaurant slowly returned to its normal volume. Natalie sat frozen, her wrist still throbbing where Sebastian had gripped it, her mind trying to process what had just happened. Andrew Fairchild moved to Sebastian's abandoned seat, sitting down with the easy confidence of someone who belonged everywhere. His green eyes, which had been so cold moments before, softened when they met hers. "Are you all right?" he asked quietly. Natalie opened her mouth, closed it, tried again. "I don't know. That's honest." A slight smile touched his lips. "I'm Andrew. I know who you are. Everyone knows who you are." The words came out too fast, tumbling over each other. "I'm Natalie. Natalie Cooper." "It's nice to meet you, Natalie Cooper." He said her name like it mattered, like she mattered, though I wish it were under better circumstances. Natalie looked down at her hands, at the red marks already forming on her wrist. "Thank you. For what you did. You didn't have to." "Yes, I did." Andrew's voice was firm. "No one should be treated the way he was treating you, especially not someone—" He stopped, jaw tightening. "I was having dinner at the next table. I heard everything." Heat flooded Natalie's face. "Then you heard him say I'm nothing without him." "I heard him reveal exactly what kind of man he is." Andrew leaned forward slightly. "And for the record, he's wrong. About everything." Natalie's throat tightened. She'd heard similar reassurances from her sister Anne, from the few friends Sebastian hadn't driven away. But hearing it from this stranger, this powerful man who'd just faced down her husband without flinching, made something crack open in her chest. "I don't even know why you helped me," she whispered. "Because you deserved help." Andrew's expression softened further. "And because I've seen what men like Sebastian do to women like you. How they tear you down piece by piece until you can't remember who you were before them." The accuracy of that statement made Natalie's eyes burn. "You don't know me." "No, but I'd like to." Andrew pulled out his phone, typed something quickly. "I'm going to give you my number. If he contacts you, if he shows up at your home or your work, if he does anything that makes you uncomfortable, you call me immediately. Do you understand? I can't ask you to—" "You're not asking. I'm offering." He met her eyes, and Natalie felt something shift in her chest. "Please, Natalie, let someone help you for once." The kindness in his voice nearly broke her. She nodded, pulling out her own phone with shaking hands. Andrew sent her a text, a simple message that just said Andrew Fairchild, and suddenly she had a lifeline she'd never expected. "Where are you staying tonight?" he asked. "My sister's. Anne. I was planning to move in with her after—" Natalie gestured vaguely at the restaurant, at the scene that had just unfolded. After this. Good. That's good. Andrew stood, and Natalie realized how tall he was, how solid, how safe he made her feel even though they'd just met. Let me drive you there. Make sure you arrive safely. You don't have to… Natalie. Her name on his lips sent warmth through her chest. Please, let me do this. She should say no, should insist she could take care of herself, that she didn't need a stranger, even a powerful one, inserting himself into her life. But the truth was, she was terrified. Terrified Sebastian would be waiting outside. Terrified of going home to pack her things alone. Terrified of everything that came next. Okay, she whispered. Andrew's smile was gentle. Come on, my car's out front. He offered his arm like a gentleman from another era. Natalie took it, feeling the solid warmth of him through expensive fabric, and let him guide her out of the restaurant. As they walked past the other diners, past the maitre d' who bowed slightly to Andrew, past everything familiar that was now part of her old life, Natalie felt something unfamiliar blooming in her chest. Hope. Maybe she could do this. Maybe she could leave Sebastian and survive and even be happy. And maybe, just maybe, the dangerous-looking man with gentle eyes walking beside her was the first step toward that new life. Even if she had no idea what she'd just gotten herself into. Andrew's car was exactly what Natalie expected. Sleek, black, expensive enough that she was afraid to touch anything. The leather seats were soft as butter, and the interior smelled like cedar and something indefinably masculine. He drove with quiet confidence, one hand on the wheel, the other resting on the center console. You're shaking, Andrew said quietly. Natalie looked down at her hands. He was right. They trembled in her lap like leaves in a storm. Adrenaline, probably. It's been a long night. That's an understatement. He glanced at her, those green eyes softening. Are you in pain? From your wrist? It's fine. Just bruised. It's not fine. His jaw tightened. And I'm sorry I didn't step in sooner. I was trying to give you privacy, but when he grabbed you, you saved me. The words came out thick. No one's ever done that before. Andrew was quiet for a moment. Has he hurt you before? Physically? No. Never. Natalie stared out the window at the familiar streets sliding past. He controlled me in other ways. Words, mostly. Making me believe I was nothing without him. That I owed him everything. You don't owe anyone your dignity. The certainty in his voice made Natalie's chest ache. My sister has been saying the same thing for months. I didn't believe her. Didn't want to believe her. Because if she was right, that meant that you'd wasted 7 years on someone who didn't deserve you. Andrew's voice was gentle. I know that feeling. The sunk cost fallacy. Staying because you've already invested so much time and energy that leaving feels like admitting defeat. Natalie looked at him. You sound like you're speaking from experience. Not personally, but I've seen it happen to people I care about. His fingers tightened on the steering wheel. My mother stayed with my father for 15 years longer than she should have. He was never physically abusive, but he was cruel in every other way. When she finally left, she told me she wished she'd done it sooner. That she'd wasted too much time on a man who saw her as property rather than a partner. I'm sorry, Natalie said softly. Don't be. She's happy now, remarried to someone who actually deserves her. Andrew turned down a quiet residential street. Which house is your sister's? The blue one, third from the corner. He pulled up to the curb, putting the car in park but not immediately getting out. Natalie, I need to tell you something. Her heart skipped. What? Sebastian isn't going to let this go. Andrew turned to face her fully. Men like him, men who need control, they don't handle rejection well. He's going to try to contact you. Probably tonight, maybe tomorrow. He'll apologize, say he was under stress, promise to change. And when that doesn't work, he'll threaten you again. Natalie's stomach twisted. I know. That's why I'm staying with Anne. Good. But Anne has to work, doesn't she? During the day, yes. She's a dental hygienist. So you'll be alone. Andrew's eyes searched hers. That's not safe, Natalie. Not yet. Not until Sebastian understands that this is really over. What are you suggesting? Andrew was quiet for a long moment. My home is large. Very large. Too large for one person, honestly. I have guest rooms, a security system, staff who are there during the day. You'd have complete privacy, your own space, but you wouldn't be alone. Natalie's mouth went dry. You're asking me to stay with you? I'm offering you a safe place to stay until things settle. His voice was careful, measured. Separate rooms, of course, no expectations, just safety and company if you want it. This was insane. She'd just met this man. Didn't know him beyond his name and his reputation and the way he'd defended her in that restaurant. Moving into his home, even temporarily, was the kind of decision her sister would call reckless. But the thought of being alone in Anne's house all day, jumping at every sound, wondering if Sebastian would show up, made Natalie's chest tight with fear. I don't know, she whispered. Think about it. Andrew pulled out his wallet, extracted a card. That's my address. If you change your mind day or night, you're welcome. I'll have Mrs. Chen, my housekeeper, prepare a room just in case. Natalie took the card with numb fingers. The address was in the Riverside district. Why are you doing this? You don't even know me. Because I can. Andrew's smile was slight. And because leaving you vulnerable to someone like Sebastian when I have the means to help feels wrong. I'm not a particularly good man, Natalie. But I try to do the right thing when I can. He got out of the car, came around to open her door. The gesture was so old-fashioned, so courteous, that Natalie felt tears burning behind her eyes. Thank you, she said as he helped her out, for everything tonight. I don't know how to... You don't have to thank me. Andrew's hand lingered on hers for just a moment, warm and steady. Just promise me you'll be careful, and that you'll call if you need anything. I promise. He walked her to Anne's door, waiting until she'd knocked and her sister answered. Anne took one look at Natalie's face, at the tall, striking man standing behind her, and her eyes went wide. What happened? Anne demanded, pulling Natalie inside. It's done, Natalie said. I told him, and he... Her voice broke. He didn't take it well. Anne's arms came around her, fierce and protective. Over her sister's shoulder, Natalie watched Andrew give a small nod and turn to leave. Wait, Natalie called out. He stopped, looking back. What you said? About your home. She swallowed hard. Can I think about it? Of course. Take all the time you need. Andrew's smile was gentle. Good night, Natalie. Good night. He left, and Natalie sagged against her sister, exhaustion crashing over her in waves. Who was that? Anne demanded, guiding Natalie to the couch. And why do you look like you've been hit by a truck? Natalie told her everything. The restaurant, Sebastian's threats, Andrew's intervention. By the end, Anne was staring at her with an expression Natalie couldn't quite read. Andrew Fairchild, Anne said slowly. The Andrew Fairchild, the most powerful man in Stratford. He defended you? Yes. And invited you to stay at his house? Yes. Natalie. Anne grabbed her hands. Do you have any idea how insane that is? I know it sounds crazy. It sounds like a fairy tale. Anne's voice was wondering. Do you know what people say about him? That he's ruthless in business? That he's destroyed companies with a phone call? That he keeps to himself and rarely socializes? But that when he does care about something, when he decides to protect someone, nothing and no one can stand against him. Natalie thought about the cold fury in Andrew's eyes when he'd looked at Sebastian, the quiet certainty when he'd threatened to destroy everything. I believe it. Are you going to take him up on his offer? I don't know. It feels safe, Anne supplied gently. Like maybe for the first time in years, someone actually sees you and wants to help without expecting anything in return. Natalie's throat tightened. Yes. Then maybe you should consider it, at least for a few days. Anne squeezed her hands. I love you, and you're always welcome here. But I work long hours, and Sebastian knows where I live. If Andrew Fairchild is offering protection, and if he's doing it without strings attached, that might be exactly what you need right now. Natalie pulled out the card, staring at the elegant script of his address. What if it's a mistake? What if it's not? Anne's smile was soft. Sometimes, Nat, we have to take a leap of faith. Trust that the universe is trying to help us instead of hurt us. That night, lying in Anne's guest room, Natalie couldn't sleep. Her mind kept circling back to Andrew, to his green eyes and his crooked nose, and the way he'd looked at her like she mattered, to the warmth of his hand on hers, and the safety she'd felt just standing near him. She picked up her phone, pulled up his text message. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. Finally, at 2 a.m, she typed, "Are you still awake?" The response came within seconds. "Yes. Are you all right? I've been thinking about your offer." And? Natalie's heart hammered. This was insane, reckless. Probably the stupidest decision she'd make all year. "When can I move in?" There was a pause. Then, "Tomorrow morning, if you'd like. I'll send a car at 10. You don't have to. I want to. Get some rest, Natalie. I'll see you tomorrow." She set down her phone, her heart racing. What had she just agreed to? Moving into a stranger's house, accepting his protection, letting herself depend on someone she'd just met. But as she finally drifted off to sleep, Natalie felt something she hadn't felt in 7 years. Safe. And that was worth the risk. Andrew's driver arrived at exactly 10 o'clock in a car that made Anne whistle under her breath. "Are you sure about this?" her sister asked for the 100th time, helping Natalie load her suitcases. "No, but I'm doing it anyway." Natalie hugged her sister tight. "I'll call you every day, promise." "You better. And if he turns out to be some kind of weirdo, you leave immediately." "He's not a weirdo, he's—" Natalie paused, trying to find the right word. "Protective. Protective is good. Possessive is not. Know the difference?" The drive to Andrew's house took 20 minutes. 20 minutes of Natalie's stomach doing complicated gymnastics while she second-guessed every decision that had led her here. She was moving into a stranger's home, a powerful, dangerous-looking stranger who'd inserted himself into her life with the force of a hurricane. This was insane. The car turned through massive iron gates, up a long driveway lined with trees, and then Natalie saw the house. It wasn't a house, it was an estate. Stone and glass and architectural brilliance spread across perfectly manicured grounds. Gardens sprawled in every direction. A fountain burbled near the front entrance. It looked like something from a magazine, the kind of place where senators held fundraisers and celebrities got married. "Oh my God," Natalie breathed. The driver smiled in the rearview mirror. "Impressive, isn't it? Mr. Fairchild inherited it from his great-grandfather. Been in the family for generations." The car pulled up to the front entrance where Andrew stood waiting. He wore dark jeans and a cream sweater that made his green eyes even more striking. Casual, approachable, somehow more devastating than the suit had been. "Natalie." He opened her door himself, offering his hand. "Welcome." She took his hand, feeling the warmth of his skin, and let him help her out. "Your home is beautiful." "Thank you. Though I can't take credit." "My great-grandfather had excellent taste." Andrew gestured to the driver. "Marcus will bring your bags up. Let me show you around." The interior was even more stunning than the exterior. Soaring ceilings, hardwood floors that gleamed like mirrors, art that was probably worth more than Sebastian's agency. But it wasn't cold or sterile. Fresh flowers brightened every room. Books lined built-in shelves. Photographs in elegant frames showed candid moments of laughter and love. It felt lived in. Loved. Like a home rather than a museum. "This is the main living area," Andrew said, leading her through a space with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the gardens. "Feel free to use it whenever you'd like. I'm usually in my study during the day, so you won't be disturbed." "Where's your study?" "East Wing. You're in the West. His smile was slight. Maximum privacy. Natalie's chest loosened. He really was trying to make her comfortable. And the housekeeper you mentioned? Mrs. Chen. She comes Monday through Friday, 8 to 4. Cooks, cleans, generally keeps me from living like a complete barbarian. Andrew led her up a sweeping staircase. She knows you're staying here. She's thrilled, actually. Says the house is too quiet with just me. How long have you lived here alone? 3 years. Since my mother remarried and moved to Europe. Andrew stopped at a door, pushed it open. This is your room. Natalie stepped inside, and her breath caught. The room was enormous, decorated in soft grays and blues. A king-size bed dominated the space, covered in linens that looked like clouds. French doors opened onto a private balcony overlooking the gardens. A sitting area featured a comfortable couch and a bookshelf already stocked with novels. There's a bathroom through that door, Andrew said, pointing, and a walk-in closet, though you're welcome to leave your things in your suitcases if you prefer. Mrs. Chen put some essentials in the bathroom, but if you need anything else, just let me know. This is too much, Natalie whispered. It's a guest room. I have 4 of them. Andrew's voice was gentle. Please, Natalie, make yourself at home. This is your space for as long as you need it. She turned to face him. This man who'd upended her life in less than 24 hours. Why are you doing this? Really? Andrew was quiet for a long moment. My mother, he finally said. When she left my father, she had nowhere to go. No money of her own, no support system he hadn't systematically dismantled. She stayed in a hotel for 3 months, terrified and alone, until she finally built up the courage to start over. His jaw tightened. I was 18, away at university. I didn't know how bad things were until it was almost too late. And I promised myself that if I ever had the chance to help someone in a similar situation, I would. So when I saw you in that restaurant, when I saw the way Sebastian was treating you, he stopped. I couldn't walk away. Natalie's throat tightened. Your mother was lucky to have you. She says the same thing, though I think I'm the lucky one. Andrew moved toward the door. I'll let you get settled. Come down whenever you're ready. Mrs. Chen made lunch, and I'm told her chicken salad is legendary. He left, closing the door softly behind him. Natalie sank onto the bed, her mind spinning. This room, this house, this man who barely knew her but was offering her sanctuary without asking for anything in return. It felt too good to be true, like a trap disguised as kindness. But as she unpacked her meager belongings, as she explored the beautiful bathroom with its clawfoot tub and rain shower, as she stepped onto the balcony and breathed in air that smelled like roses and possibility, Natalie felt something shift inside her. Maybe this wasn't a trap. Maybe this was just kindness. Real, uncomplicated kindness from someone who had the means to help and chose to use it. She found Andrew in the kitchen an hour later. He was reading on a tablet, his feet bare, his hair slightly disheveled. He looked up when she entered, and his smile was warm. How's the room? He asked. Perfect. Too perfect. Natalie slid onto a bar stool across from him. I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop. There is no other shoe. Andrew set down the tablet. This is exactly what it appears to be. A safe place to stay while you figure out your next steps. No expectations, no obligations, just safety. Why do I get the feeling you don't do this for everyone? Because I don't. His green eyes held hers. But you're not everyone, Natalie. The intensity in his gaze made her pulse skip. You don't even know me. I'd like to. Andrew stood, moved to the refrigerator. Mrs. Chen left enough food to feed an army. Are you hungry? They ate lunch on the terrace overlooking the gardens. Andrew was easy to talk to, asking questions about her life, her degree in advertising, her dreams before Sebastian had systematically crushed them one by one. He listened like her words mattered, like she mattered, and Natalie found herself relaxing in a way she hadn't in years. What about you? She asked. What do you do, besides own half the city, apparently? Andrew laughed. I manage investments mostly. Family money that needs oversight. It's not particularly exciting. Numbers, projections, board meetings where people pretend to care about quarterly reports. You don't enjoy it. I'm good at it. That's not the same thing. He leaned back in his chair. My great-grandfather built the family fortune in shipping. My grandfather expanded it into manufacturing. My father squandered most of it on bad investments and worse women. I spent my 20s rebuilding what he'd destroyed. That must have been difficult. It was necessary. Andrew's voice was matter-of-fact. Family legacy, family responsibility. My mother deserved better than watching everything her father built crumble. So I made sure she didn't have to. Natalie studied him. This complicated man with gentle eyes and a reputation for ruthlessness. You're a good son. I try. His smile was slight. Though I think I'd be a better one if I could convince her to move back to the States. She loves Europe, though. Says it's full of men who appreciate a woman with opinions. Your father didn't? My father appreciated women who looked beautiful and kept quiet. The coldness in Andrew's voice made Natalie shiver. He's dead now. Heart attack 5 years ago. I'd feel bad about not mourning him if he'd ever given me a reason to. I'm sorry. Don't be. Some people don't deserve mourning. Andrew stood, gathering their plates. Come on, let me show you the library. Unless you're tired. I'm not tired, Natalie paused, trying to find the right word. I'm okay. Which is strange, considering everything that's happened. Sometimes safety feels strange when you're not used to it. Andrew's voice was gentle. Give yourself time to adjust. The library was a dream. 2 stories of books, accessed by a rolling ladder with comfortable reading chairs and windows that let in perfect, natural light. Natalie wandered the aisles, her fingers trailing over spines, her heart aching with something that felt like joy. I could live in here, she breathed. Feel free. Andrew settled into one of the chairs, tablet in hand. I usually read here in the evenings. You're welcome to join me. Or not. Whatever makes you comfortable. Natalie pulled down a novel she'd been meaning to read, settled into the chair opposite his. They sat in comfortable silence, the only sound the occasional turn of a page or tap of Andrew's tablet. This was nice. More than nice. It was peaceful in a way Natalie had forgotten existed. Her phone buzzed. She pulled it out, and her blood ran cold. Sebastian. 12 missed calls. 8 text messages. Each one angrier than the last. You can't hide from me. This is ridiculous, Natalie. Come home. You're making a mistake. That man can't protect you forever. I know where your sister lives. Answer your phone. Natalie's hands started shaking. Andrew looked up, his expression immediately sharpening. What's wrong? She passed him the phone wordlessly. Watched his jaw tighten as he read, his green eyes going cold and dangerous. He's violated the restraining order, Andrew said quietly. I don't have a restraining order. I never filed one. We're filing one tomorrow. Andrew's voice was steel. And I'm having a word with Sebastian. A very clear word about what happens if he contacts you again. Andrew, you don't have to... Yes, I do. He stood, and Natalie was suddenly reminded that this gentle man was also dangerous. Block his number, all of them. If he finds another way to contact you, you tell me immediately. Do you understand? Natalie nodded, her throat too tight to speak. Andrew's expression softened. He moved closer, crouching down beside her chair so they were eye level. You're safe here, Natalie. I promise you. Sebastian can't hurt you, not while I'm here. How can you be so sure? Because I have resources he can't even imagine. And because... Andrew stopped, jaw tightening. Because I won't let him. It's that simple. The certainty in his voice, the protective fury in his eyes, made Natalie's chest ache. No one had ever looked at her like that before, like she was worth defending, worth protecting, worth everything. Thank you, she whispered. Andrew's hand came up, brushing a strand of hair from her face. The touch was gentle, careful, and it made Natalie's heart skip. You don't have to thank me, he said quietly. Just stay safe. Let me help you. That's all I ask. Okay. He stood, stepping back, putting careful distance between them. I have some calls to make. Will you be all right for a bit? Yes, I think I'll just read. Good. I'll find you for dinner. Mrs. Chen made lasagna. Fair warning, it's incredible. He left, and Natalie sagged in her chair, her body shaking with adrenaline and relief and something else she couldn't quite name. Sebastian was still out there, still angry, still trying to control her. But for the first time in 7 years, Natalie wasn't alone. She had Andrew. This strange, powerful, protective man who barely knew her, but was treating her like she was precious. It should terrify her. This dependence on someone new, this trading one man for another. But it didn't feel like that. It felt like safety. Real safety. The kind that didn't come with strings or expectations or punishment. And as Natalie lost herself in her book, as the afternoon sun streamed through the library windows and somewhere in another part of this beautiful house, Andrew made calls that would probably destroy Sebastian's life. She felt something unfamiliar blooming in her chest. Hope. Maybe she really could start over. Maybe she really could be happy. And maybe, just maybe, Andrew Fairchild was exactly the kind of man she'd needed all along. 3 days later, the storm hit. Not metaphorically. An actual storm. The kind that made weather forecasters excited and everyone else nervous. Thunder rolled across the sky like drums. Rain lashed the windows in sheets. Lightning turned the world white and electric every few seconds. The power went out at 9. Natalie had been reading in her room, wrapped in a blanket despite the warmth of late summer, when everything went dark. She waited for the backup generator to kick in like it had during a brief flicker the day before. It didn't. Thunder cracked so loud the windows rattled. Natalie's heart jumped into her throat. She wasn't afraid of storms, exactly, but sitting alone in the dark in a strange house, while wind howled and rain hammered, was activating every childhood fear she'd thought she'd outgrown. A knock on her door. "Natalie?" Andrew's voice calm and steady. "Are you all right?" She opened the door to find him standing there with a flashlight and a slight smile. "The generator's down. Lightning probably fried something. I've called the repair service, but they can't come out until the storm passes." "Oh." Natalie wrapped the blanket tighter. "Okay." Andrew studied her face. "You're scared." "I'm fine." "You're a terrible liar." His voice was gentle. "Come on, we'll ride out the storm together." He led her downstairs to the library. He'd already lit candles, their soft glow creating shadows that danced across the walls. It should have been romantic. Instead, it felt safe. "I have flashlights, battery-powered lanterns, and enough candles to open a shop," Andrew said, settling into his usual chair. "We won't be completely in the dark." Natalie curled up in her chair, pulling her knees to her chest. "I feel ridiculous. It's just a storm." "Everyone's afraid of something." Andrew opened his tablet, which still had battery life. "I'm terrified of small spaces, elevators, closets, anywhere I feel trapped. Had a panic attack in an elevator once. Very undignified." "Really?" Natalie couldn't imagine this composed man panicking about anything. "Really? I was 12. Got stuck in an elevator for 3 hours during a power outage. Ever since then, confined spaces make me..." He gestured vaguely. "Irrational." "What do you do when you have to use an elevator?" "Take the stairs whenever possible. When I can't, I focus on breathing. Count to 10. Remind myself that I'm safe, that nothing bad is happening, that it's just old fears talking." Thunder boomed. Natalie flinched. "Hey!" Andrew's voice was soft. "Come here." She looked at him confused. "Come sit with me. Sometimes proximity helps." Natalie knew she should say no. Should maintain the careful distance they'd kept for the past 3 days, this polite boundary that kept things professional and safe. Instead, she uncurled from her chair and moved to his couch. Andrew shifted, making room, and Natalie settled beside him, not touching, but close enough that she could feel his warmth. "Better?" he asked. "Actually, yes." They sat in comfortable silence while the storm raged outside. Andrew read something on his tablet. Natalie tried to focus on her book, but kept getting distracted by his presence. The way he smelled like cedar and something clean. The way his hand rested on his thigh, fingers occasionally tapping out a rhythm only he could hear. The way the candlelight caught his profile, making him look like something from a painting. "I talked to Sebastian," Andrew said suddenly. Natalie's blood went cold. "What?" "Yesterday. I went to his office. Had a very clear conversation about the consequences of continuing to contact you." Andrew's voice was matter-of-fact. "He won't bother you again." "How can you be sure?" "Because I showed him exactly what I'm capable of. His agency's biggest clients received calls from my attorneys suggesting they might want to explore other options. His landlord received notice that the building is being sold, and the new owners won't be renewing commercial leases. His bank received questions about some interesting discrepancies in his account activity." Natalie stared at him. "You're destroying his business." "I'm making him understand that actions have consequences." Andrew's eyes met hers, and there was no apology in them. "He hurt you, threatened you. That's not acceptable. But you're protecting you. Yes, that's what I do for people I care about." The words hung in the air between them. People I care about. As if they'd known each other longer than 3 days. As if Natalie was already someone who mattered. "Andrew." Her voice was thick. "I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything." He set down his tablet. "I know this is complicated. I know you're probably thinking I'm overstepping, being too involved, inserting myself into your life without permission. And maybe I am. But watching someone hurt you, knowing I have the power to stop it, and doing nothing." His jaw tightened. "I can't do that, Natalie. I won't." Thunder crashed so loud Natalie jumped. Without thinking, she moved closer to Andrew. His arm came around her shoulders automatically, pulling her against his side. "Sorry," she whispered. "Don't be." His voice was rough. "You're safe here, I promise." They stayed like that as the storm intensified. Natalie's head resting against Andrew's shoulder, his arm warm and solid around her. It should have felt strange, this intimacy with someone she barely knew. Instead, it felt like coming home. "Tell me something," Andrew said quietly. "Something about you that Sebastian never knew." Natalie thought for a moment. "I wanted to be a writer. Before advertising, before everything. I used to write short stories, send them to magazines. I even got a few published in small literary journals." "Why did you stop?" "Sebastian said it was a waste of time, that I needed to focus on practical things, marketable skills. So I did. I stopped writing, stopped dreaming, stopped being..." Her voice broke. "Stopped being me." Andrew's arm tightened around her. "You can start again. Write whatever you want. I have a study upstairs that no one uses. It's yours if you want it." "You don't have to." "I want to." He looked down at her, and the intensity in his green eyes made her breath catch. "I want to see you become whoever you were meant to be before someone tried to make you small. That's all I want, Natalie. Your happiness." Natalie's throat tightened. "Why?" "Because you deserve it. Because watching you come alive over the past few days, watching you relax and smile and just be, has been..." He stopped, jaw tightening. "It's been a privilege, and I want more of that. More of you being yourself without fear or apology." Lightning turned the world white. Thunder followed immediately, so close the house seemed to shake. Natalie pressed closer to Andrew without meaning to. His other arm came around her, holding her securely, his chin resting on top of her head. "I've got you," he murmured. "Nothing's going to hurt you." They sat like that for hours. The storm raged. The candles burned low. And somewhere in the darkness, wrapped in Andrew's arms, Natalie felt something shift inside her. This wasn't just gratitude, wasn't just relief at being safe. This was something deeper, more complicated, more terrifying. She was falling for him. For this man who'd upended her life and offered her sanctuary. Who'd defended her against Sebastian without hesitation. Who held her through a storm like she was something precious. It was too soon, too fast. Too dangerous to fall for someone when she was still legally married, still emotionally raw, still figuring out who she was without Sebastian's voice in her head. But her heart didn't care about timing or logic or caution. Her heart just knew that Andrew's arms felt like home. "Natalie." His voice was rough. "I need to tell you something." She lifted her head, meeting his eyes in the candlelight. "What?" "This wasn't supposed to happen. You staying here was supposed to be temporary, professional, just me helping someone who needed it. But—" He stopped, his hand coming up to cup her face. "But that's not what this is anymore. At least not for me." Natalie's heart hammered. "What is it then?" "I don't know. Something more. Something that makes me want to be the man who keeps you safe forever. Not just until you're ready to leave." His thumb brushed her cheekbone. "Tell me I'm not alone in this. Tell me you feel it too." She should lie. Should protect herself. Should remember that she just escaped one controlling relationship and running straight into another, even a healthier one, was probably a terrible idea. "I feel it," she whispered. Andrew's eyes darkened. "Natalie, I know it's too soon. I know I'm still married, still a mess, still figuring out my life. But I feel it, Andrew. This thing between us. It terrifies me, but I feel it." He leaned forward slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, when she stayed perfectly still and held his gaze, he closed the distance between them. The kiss was gentle, careful, like he was handling something fragile. His lips were soft against hers, his hand warm on her face, and Natalie felt her entire world tilt sideways. This was different from kissing Sebastian. Different from anything she'd ever felt. This was fire and safety and coming home all at once. When Andrew pulled back, his eyes were searching hers. "Was that okay?" "Yes." Natalie's voice was breathless. "More than okay." "Good." His smile was slight. "Because I've been wanting to do that since I saw you in that restaurant." "Really? Really? You looked so brave, asking for a divorce. So determined despite being terrified. I thought—" He stopped. "I thought you were the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen." Natalie's chest ached. "No one's ever called me beautiful before. Then everyone you've known has been blind." Andrew's voice was fierce. "You're stunning, Natalie, inside and out. And I plan to spend however long you'll let me proving that to you." Thunder rolled, but Natalie barely heard it. She was too busy kissing Andrew again, too busy feeling his arms around her and his heart beating beneath her palm, and the safety of being wanted for who she was, not what she could provide. The storm raged on. But inside, in Andrew's library, wrapped in his arms, Natalie felt nothing but peace and possibility, and the beginning of something that might just save them both. Morning brought clear skies and a power bill that would probably make Natalie's eyes water if she ever saw it. She woke in Andrew's guest room, in her own bed, with absolutely no memory of how she'd gotten there. The last thing she remembered was falling asleep on the library couch, wrapped in Andrew's arms, feeling safer than she had in years. Someone must have carried her, someone being Andrew, unless Mrs. Chen had developed superhuman strength overnight. Natalie's face burned. She'd kissed him. Multiple times. Had poured out her feelings like they'd known each other for years instead of days. She was an idiot. She found Andrew in the kitchen, making coffee with the intense focus most people reserved for complex mathematical equations. He looked up when she entered, and his smile was warm. "Good morning," he said. "Sleep well?" "I don't remember coming upstairs." "That's because you fell asleep around 2. I carried you up, tucked you in, left before I could be tempted to stay." His eyes held hers. "I wasn't sure if you'd regret last night. Didn't want to add, took advantage of an emotionally vulnerable woman, to my list of sins." Natalie moved to the counter, accepted the coffee cup he offered. "I don't regret it." "No?" "No, but I think we need to talk about—" She gestured vaguely. "This, whatever this is." "Agreed." Andrew leaned against the counter. "You first." And Natalie took a fortifying sip of coffee. I'm still married, legally. I won't be divorced for months, maybe longer if Sebastian contests it. And I'm a mess, Andrew. I'm still figuring out who I am without someone telling me. I'm emotionally raw and probably making terrible decisions because I'm grateful and scared and... Natalie. He set down his cup. Breathe. She did. Tried to, anyway. Now, Andrew said quietly, let me say something. You're right about all of that. You are still married. You are figuring yourself out. And maybe this timing is terrible. But... He moved closer. But I don't care. I want to be here for that journey. Want to watch you discover who you're meant to be. Want to be the person who makes you feel safe while you do it. That's not fair to you. Let me worry about what's fair to me. Andrew's hand found hers. I'm not asking you to marry me tomorrow, Natalie. I'm not asking for promises or commitments or anything except permission to keep doing what we've been doing. Keep getting to know each other. He stopped. Keep being whatever this is. Natalie's throat tightened. What if I hurt you? What if you don't? His smile was slight. I'm willing to take that risk if you are. She should say no. Should insist they slow down, maintain boundaries, keep things professional until she had her life sorted. Instead, she stood on her toes and kissed him. Andrew's arms came around her immediately, pulling her close. The kiss was deeper this time, more confident, like they'd crossed some invisible line during the storm, and there was no going back. I'll take that as a yes, Andrew murmured against her lips. It's a maybe. A cautious, terrified maybe. I'll take it. He pulled back, his eyes searching hers. Now, Mrs. Chen is coming in an hour, and she's going to have questions about why we look so... rumpled? I was going to say happy. But rumpled works too. Andrew's smile was devastating. Want to help me make breakfast? Fair warning, I'm a terrible cook. They made scrambled eggs that were slightly rubbery and toast that was slightly burned, and it was perfect. They ate on the terrace, Andrew telling her stories about his mother, about growing up in this enormous house with a father who barely acknowledged his existence. He wanted a son who would take over the business, Andrew said. Someone ruthless and cunning and willing to do whatever it took to accumulate more wealth. Instead, he got me. Someone who cares about people more than profit. That's not a weakness. My father thought it was. He spent my entire childhood trying to... Andrew stopped, jaw tightening. Train it out of me. Make me harder, colder, more like him. It didn't work. No, but it left scars. His eyes met hers. I can be ruthless when I need to be, Natalie. What I did to Sebastian, that's not an exception. That's who I am when someone threatens something I care about. I'm not afraid of you. You should be. A little. Andrew's voice was serious. I'm not a white knight, Natalie. I'm a man with power and resources who isn't always careful about how he uses them. I've destroyed careers, ruined companies, made people disappear from social circles with a few well-placed calls. I'm not proud of it, but I won't pretend it didn't happen. Natalie set down her coffee. Are you trying to scare me away? I'm trying to be honest. You deserve honesty. Okay. Honest? I think you're the most decent man I've ever met. You have power, yes. You use it, yes. But you use it to protect people. To help them. That's not the same as being cruel for cruelty's sake. Andrew was quiet for a long moment. My mother says the same thing. I never quite believe it. Maybe you should start. They spent the day together. Andrew showed her the grounds, the gardens his great-grandmother had designed, the old stables that had been converted into a garage for cars. Andrew admitted he rarely drove. They walked through the orchard, picking apples that were just starting to ripen, talking about everything and nothing. Natalie told him about her dreams of writing, about the stories that still lived in her head even after years of suppression. Andrew listened like every word mattered, asking questions, encouraging her to write again. I have that study I mentioned, he said as they walked back to the house. It's yours. Computer, desk, perfect view. Whatever you need to write. Andrew, I can't. Yes, you can. Please, Natalie, let me do this for you. She agreed because saying no felt impossible, because the hope in his eyes, the genuine desire to help her, made her chest ache. Mrs. Chen arrived and immediately fell in love with Natalie. The older woman bustled around the kitchen, making lunch and asking Natalie 1,000 questions about her life, her interests, her plans. She kept shooting knowing looks at Andrew, who studiously ignored them. She likes you, Andrew said after Mrs. Chen left. That's good. She's an excellent judge of character. Does she know about... Natalie gestured between them. She knows I'm hopelessly smitten with a beautiful woman who's staying in my home. Andrew's smile was crooked. But she doesn't know the details. I thought I'd let you decide how much to share. Hopelessly smitten? Devastatingly, completely. Take your pick of adjectives. Natalie laughed, and it felt good. Natural, like something she'd forgotten how to do was finally coming back. That evening, they ate dinner in the library. Candles again, though this time by choice rather than necessity. Andrew had opened a bottle of wine, something expensive that tasted like velvet on Natalie's tongue. I filed for the restraining order today, Andrew said casually. Against Sebastian. It'll be processed by tomorrow. If he comes within 500 feet of you, he'll be arrested. Natalie's chest tightened. He's going to be furious. Let him be. Andrew's voice was steel. He can't hurt you, Natalie. Not anymore. How can you be so sure? Because I won't let him. Because I have resources he can't match and connections he can't break. Because... Andrew set down his wine glass. Because you're mine to protect now, and I take that responsibility seriously. Yours. The word sent heat through Natalie's chest. She shouldn't like it, this possessive claim. But she did. She liked knowing someone cared enough to fight for her. Can I ask you something? She said. Anything. Why me? Really? You could have anyone, Andrew. Why help a married woman you met in a restaurant? Andrew was quiet for a long moment. When I saw Sebastian grab your wrist, when I saw the fear in your eyes, I saw my mother. Saw her 20 years ago, trapped in a marriage that was slowly destroying her. And I thought... His jaw tightened. I thought, not again. Not if I can stop it. So this is about your mother? It started that way. But then I talked to you. Saw your courage, your strength, the way you were trying so hard to be brave despite being terrified. And I thought... He looked at her, and the vulnerability in his eyes made her breath catch. I thought you were remarkable, and I wanted to know you, really know you. So I offered you sanctuary because that's what you needed. But I kept you close because that's what I needed. Natalie's throat tightened. What do you need, Andrew? You. The word was simple, devastating. I need you, Natalie. Your smile, your laughter, the way you look at me like I'm not a monster. I need all of it. She moved to his couch, settling beside him. Andrew's arm came around her automatically, pulling her close. I need you too, she whispered, and that terrifies me. We can be terrified together. They kissed, slow and sweet, and full of promise. And as the candles burned low and the night deepened around them, Natalie felt something she'd thought was lost forever. She felt whole. Not because Andrew completed her, but because he made space for her to complete herself. Gave her safety to heal, time to grow, freedom to become. And maybe that was what love was supposed to be. Not someone rescuing you, but someone standing beside you while you rescued yourself. Natalie wasn't ready to say the word yet. Wasn't ready to make promises or plans or anything that looked like forever. But as she fell asleep in Andrew's arms, as she felt his heartbeat beneath her cheek and his breath in her hair, she thought, maybe someday soon. Maybe forever wasn't as terrifying as it seemed. Not with the right person, not with him. The divorce papers came through on a Tuesday morning. Sebastian had contested them, of course. Had hired lawyers and filed motions and done everything possible to drag out the process. But Andrew's attorneys were better, more ruthless, and absolutely determined to end this marriage as quickly as legally possible. 3 months. That's how long it took. 3 months of Natalie living in Andrew's home, slowly healing, slowly becoming herself again. 3 months of writing in the study he'd prepared for her, pouring out stories that had lived in her head for years. 3 months of falling deeper in love with a man who treated her like she was precious. "It's done," Andrew said, setting the papers on the kitchen counter where Natalie was having coffee. "You're officially divorced." Natalie stared at the papers. Her hands were shaking. "I'm free." "You're free." Andrew's voice was gentle. "How do you feel?" "I don't know." "Relieved? Scared? Like I should feel something more dramatic than—" She looked at him. "Then grateful it's over?" "There's no right way to feel." Andrew moved beside her, his hand finding hers. "You did a brave thing, Natalie. You left a bad situation. You rebuilt your life. You survived. That's worth celebrating. I didn't do it alone." "No, but you did the hardest parts yourself." His eyes held hers. "I just gave you a safe place to land. You did the actual work of healing." Natalie's throat tightened. Over the past 3 months, Andrew had been perfect. Patient when she had nightmares. Supportive when she broke down crying over nothing. Understanding when she needed space and present when she needed company. He'd let her set the pace, never pushing, never demanding more than she could give. And slowly, carefully, she'd fallen completely in love with him. "I need to tell you something," she said. "That sounds ominous." "It's not. Or maybe it is." Natalie took a breath. "I love you, Andrew." He went completely still. "Natalie, I know the timing is terrible. I know I just got divorced, that I'm still figuring out my life, that saying this probably makes me the most reckless person alive. But I love you, and I needed to say it now, while I have the courage." Andrew's hand came up, cupping her face. "Thank you." "That's it? Just thank you?" "No." His smile was slight. "I love you too, Natalie. I've loved you since that first night, when you looked at me like I was something worth believing in. I didn't want to say it until you were ready to hear it." "I'm ready." Natalie's voice was thick. "I'm so ready." He kissed her, deep and thorough, like he was trying to pour every feeling into the contact. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Andrew rested his forehead against hers. "Move in with me," he said. "I already live here." "No, I mean, really move in. Not as a guest, but as—" He stopped. "As my partner, my girlfriend, whatever label you're comfortable with. Just stay. Not because you're afraid of Sebastian, but because you want to." Natalie's heart hammered. "Are you sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything." Andrew's eyes searched hers. "I love you, Natalie. I want to wake up with you every morning. I want to come home to you every evening. I want to build a life with you, whatever that looks like." "Yes." The word came out breathless. "Yes, I'll stay. Yes." Andrew's smile was devastating. He kissed her again, lifting her onto the counter, his hands on her hips, her fingers tangling in his hair. The divorce papers crinkled beneath her, forgotten, no longer important. She was free. Really free. Free to choose her own life, her own love, her own future. And she was choosing Andrew. "Mrs. Chen is going to be thrilled," Andrew murmured against her lips. "She's been dropping hints about grandchildren for weeks." "Grandchildren?" Natalie pulled back. "Andrew." "Relax. I told her we're nowhere near that stage. Though," his smile was crooked. "Would that be something you'd want? Eventually?" "I don't know. Maybe. Someday." Natalie's face heated. "We've been together 3 months. And I've known you were the one since day 3. But I can be patient." He kissed her nose. "We have time, Natalie. All the time in the world." They spent the morning celebrating. Andrew canceled his meetings, declared the day a holiday, and took Natalie into the city for lunch at an absurdly expensive restaurant where everyone knew him and treated them like royalty. "I'm not dressed for this," Natalie whispered as they were led to the best table. "You're perfect." Andrew's hand was warm on her back, and anyone who thinks otherwise can deal with me. They ate dishes Natalie couldn't pronounce and talked about the future, about Natalie finishing her first novel, about Andrew's plans to expand his investments into sustainable technologies, about trips they wanted to take, places they wanted to see, dreams they wanted to build together. It felt real, not rushed or desperate or born from trauma, just real. Two people who'd found each other at exactly the right time, even if that time had seemed all wrong. As they were leaving, Natalie saw him, Sebastian, standing on the sidewalk across the street, staring at her with an expression she couldn't read. Her blood ran cold. Andrew. He followed her gaze, and his entire body went rigid. "Stay here." "Andrew, don't..." But he was already moving, crossing the street with long strides, his expression dark and dangerous. Natalie watched, her heart in her throat, as Andrew reached Sebastian. She couldn't hear what was said. Could only see Sebastian's face go pale, see him take a step back, see Andrew lean in close and say something that made her ex-husband flinch. Then Andrew was walking back, his hand finding Natalie's, his expression calm but his eyes still cold. "What did you say to him?" Natalie asked. "Nothing he didn't need to hear." Andrew's jaw was tight. "He won't bother you again." "How can you?" "Because I made it very clear what would happen if he did." Andrew's eyes met hers. "I'm not a violent man, Natalie, but for you, I'd become one." The certainty in his voice should have scared her. Instead, it made her feel protected, safe, like nothing in the world could hurt her as long as Andrew was there. They went home. To Andrew's house, which was now officially Natalie's house too. Mrs. Chen had prepared dinner, and they ate on the terrace as the sun set, talking about everything and nothing. "I'm proud of you," Andrew said suddenly. Natalie looked at him. "For what?" "For surviving, for leaving, for choosing happiness even when it was terrifying." His hand found hers across the table. "You're the bravest person I know, Natalie." "I'm not brave, I'm just trying." "That's what bravery is, trying even when you're scared." Andrew stood, pulling her up with him. "Dance with me?" "There's no music." "We don't need music." They swayed together on the terrace, Andrew's arms around her, Natalie's head on his chest. The city lights twinkled below. Stars appeared one by one overhead. And in this moment, wrapped in the arms of a man who loved her, Natalie felt something she'd thought was lost forever. Peace. Real, genuine peace. Not the absence of fear, but the presence of safety. The knowledge that she was exactly where she was meant to be. "I love you," she whispered against his chest. "I love you too." Andrew's voice was rough. "So much, Natalie. More than I thought I could love anyone." They made love that night. Not desperate or rushed, but slow and careful and full of promise. Andrew touched her like she was precious, loved her like she was the only woman in the world, and Natalie felt every broken piece of herself finally heal. This was what she'd been missing. Not just love, but love that was safe. Love that built up instead of tearing down. Love that made her stronger instead of weaker. Afterward, lying in Andrew's arms in his enormous bed that was now their bed, Natalie thought about how far she'd come. From the terrified woman asking for a divorce in a restaurant to this, to happiness, to love, to a future that looked bright instead of bleak. "Thank you," she whispered. Andrew's arms tightened around her. "For what?" "For seeing me, for saving me, for everything." "You saved yourself, Natalie. I just gave you a place to land while you did it." He kissed the top of her head. "But you're welcome, and thank you." "For what?" "For taking a chance on a man with a crooked nose and a reputation for being dangerous." Andrew's voice was soft. for seeing past all that to who I really am, for loving me. That's the easiest thing I've ever done." They fell asleep tangled together, the city quiet outside their windows, the future stretching out before them bright and beautiful and theirs to build however they wanted. Natalie had been threatened, had been controlled and diminished and made to feel small. But she'd survived, had escaped, had found a man who defended her not because she was weak, but because he saw her strength and wanted to protect it. And that made all the difference. 6 months later, Natalie stood in the study Andrew had prepared for her, staring at her laptop screen. The end. 2 words. The conclusion of her first novel. The story she'd been carrying inside her for years, finally complete. She'd done it. Actually done it. "Natalie?" Andrew appeared in the doorway, holding 2 cups of coffee. "I heard you squeal. Everything okay?" "I finished." Her voice was thick. "I finished the book." Andrew's face lit up. He set down the coffee cups and pulled her into his arms, spinning her around until she was laughing and breathless. "I'm so proud of you," he said, setting her down but not letting go. "This is incredible, Natalie. You did it." "I did it," she repeated, still not quite believing it. "What now?" "Now you find an agent and a publisher. And you let the world see what I've known for months, that you're extraordinarily talented." Andrew kissed her forehead. "But first, we celebrate." The celebration came in the form of a quiet dinner, just the 2 of them, in the dining room Andrew rarely used. Mrs. Chen had prepared Natalie's favorite meal, roasted chicken with herbs from the garden, vegetables that tasted like summer, bread that was still warm from the oven. "I have something for you," Andrew said when they'd finished eating. He pulled out a small box, velvet and elegant, and Natalie's heart stopped. "Andrew, it's not what you think. Or maybe it is." He smiled nervously, which was so unlike him that Natalie's chest ached. "Open it." Inside was a key. Simple, elegant, with a small tag attached. "Home." "I want to give you the house," Andrew said. "Not as a gift, but as proof. Proof that this is your home, Natalie. That you belong here. That you'll always belong here, whether we're together or not." Natalie's eyes burned. "Andrew." "Let me finish." He took her hands. "I love you. I want to marry you someday, when you're ready, when the timing feels right. But whether that's tomorrow or in 5 years, I want you to know that this house is yours. That you have a place that's safe and permanent and can never be taken away. You're putting the house in my name. Half of it, yes. We'll be joint owners, equal partners." Andrew's eyes searched hers. "I know you're still building your confidence, still learning to trust yourself. I don't want you ever feeling trapped or dependent. I want you to know you have options, always." Natalie couldn't speak, could only stare at this man who understood her so completely, who knew exactly what she needed before she did. "Say something," Andrew said, and there was vulnerability in his voice that she'd never heard before. "I love you." The words came out thick with tears. "I love you so much, Andrew. And yes to the house, yes to being partners, yes to everything." "Good." His smile was relieved. "Because I already had the papers drawn up. Very presumptuous of me." Natalie laughed, the sound watery, but genuine. "Very. But I love you anyway." They made love that night in their bed, in their house, in the life they were building together. And as Natalie fell asleep in Andrew's arms, she thought about how far she'd come. From the restaurant where she'd asked for a divorce to this. To safety. To love. To a future that was hers, to build however she wanted. The next morning, Natalie woke to find Andrew already dressed, his expression serious. "What's wrong?" she asked. "Nothing's wrong, but there's something you need to see." He handed her his phone. The headline made her stomach drop. "Local business owner arrested for fraud. Sebastian." His photo stared out from the screen, his expression furious. The article detailed years of financial misconduct, stolen funds, forged documents. His agency was being seized, his assets frozen, his reputation destroyed. "Did you—" Natalie looked at Andrew. "No, this was already happening. The investigators just needed time to build their case." Andrew's voice was careful. "I may have pointed them in the right direction, but everything they found was real, Natalie. Sebastian did this to himself. She should feel something, sympathy maybe, or satisfaction. Instead, she just felt tired." "It's over," she said. "It's over," Andrew agreed. "He can't hurt you anymore. Can't hurt anyone anymore." Natalie handed back the phone. "I don't want to talk about him. Not today. Not ever again." "Then we won't." Andrew pulled her close. "We'll talk about your book, about the agents we're going to contact, about the life we're building." They spent the morning in the garden. Andrew was teaching Natalie to plant herbs, his hands gentle as he showed her how to tuck seedlings into soil, how to water without drowning, how to encourage growth without forcing it. "You're good at this," Natalie said, watching him work. "I like making things grow. It's peaceful." Andrew looked at her. "You make me peaceful, Natalie. Did you know that? You make me brave." "Good." He leaned over, kissed her softly. "We're good for each other." That afternoon, Anne visited. She hadn't been to the house since Natalie moved in, too busy with work and life and giving her sister space to heal. But now she stood in the entrance hall, her eyes wide. "Natalie," she breathed. "This place is overwhelming?" "Incredible." Anne turned to Andrew, who'd appeared to greet them. "You're Andrew Fairchild, the Andrew Fairchild." "Just Andrew is fine." His smile was warm. "You must be Anne. Natalie talks about you constantly." They had lunch on the terrace, and Natalie watched her sister slowly relax. Anne asked Andrew careful questions about his business, his family, his intentions toward Natalie. Andrew answered honestly, not defensive or annoyed, just honest. "I love your sister," he said simply. "I want to build a life with her, and I'll spend however long it takes proving that I'm worthy of her." Anne looked at Natalie. "You're happy?" "I'm so happy," Natalie said, and meant it. "Happier than I ever thought I could be." "Good." Anne's voice was thick. "That's all I ever wanted for you." After Anne left, after they'd cleaned up and settled in the library for their usual evening reading, Andrew set down his book. "I need to ask you something," he said. Natalie looked up. "What?" "Will you marry me?" Her heart stopped. "What?" "I know. I said I'd wait until you were ready, but—" Andrew moved to kneel beside her chair. "I'm ready, Natalie. I'm ready to build a life with you, officially, to be your husband, to have everyone know that you're mine and I'm yours." "Andrew, if it's too soon, tell me. I'll wait. I'll wait forever if that's what you need. But I wanted you to know—" His voice was rough. "I wanted you to know that when you're ready, I'm here. I'm yours, completely." Natalie's hands were shaking. This was fast, too fast. She'd only been divorced for 3 months, was still building her career, still figuring out her life. But looking at Andrew's face, at the hope and love and vulnerability there, she knew the answer. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes? Yes, I'll marry you." Tears streamed down her face. "I don't want to wait, Andrew. I don't want to be cautious or careful. I want to be your wife. I want to build this life with you. I want everything." Andrew stood, pulling her up with him, and kissed her so deeply Natalie forgot how to breathe. When they broke apart, he was smiling wider than she'd ever seen. "I don't have a ring yet," he admitted. "I was going to wait, make it perfect." "I don't need perfect. I just need you. You have me. Always." He held her close. "We'll do this right. Small wedding, just people we love. Or big wedding if you want. Whatever makes you happy, Natalie. That's all I care about." They decided on small. Just Anne, Mrs. Chen, and a handful of Andrew's closest friends. A simple ceremony in the garden, under the trees his great-grandmother had planted, with vows they wrote themselves. The wedding was perfect, Natalie wore a simple white dress, flowers in her hair, and smiled so wide her face hurt. Andrew wore a navy suit and looked at her like she was the only person in the world. "I promise to love you," Natalie said, her voice steady despite her tears. "To support you, to be your partner in everything, to build a life with you that's built on trust and respect and genuine love. I promise to be brave, to choose happiness, to never forget that I deserve the love you give me." "I promise to protect you," Andrew said, his voice rough, "to support your dreams, to be patient when you need time and present when you need company. I promise to love you even on the days you can't love yourself, to remind you of your strength when you forget, to be the man you deserve every single day for the rest of our lives." They kissed as husband and wife, and Natalie felt something shift in her chest. This was it. This was what she'd been missing all those years with Sebastian. Not grand gestures or expensive gifts or someone controlling her life. This, partnership, equality, love that built up instead of tearing down. "I love you, Mrs. Fairchild," Andrew whispered against her lips. "I love you too, Mr. Fairchild." They danced in the garden as the sun set, just the two of them, no music needed. And as Natalie looked up at her husband, at the man who'd defended her when she couldn't defend herself, who'd given her safety when she had none, who'd loved her when she'd forgotten how to love herself, she felt complete. Not because Andrew completed her, but because he'd given her the space to complete herself. And that made all the difference.